Hey, welcome to AIwithFizzy again, and today's going to be a different topic of discussion here. As you all know, I do machine learning models, I build AI models mainly for sports industry, and throughout the week, I've been testing various models of machine learning from regression tree to XGBoost to multilinear regression, even the most simplest form, single linear regression as well. Today's Friday, and I want to use my Fridays to educate, kind of coach, but teach people who are striving or looking to strive in a specific type of career. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to use my network and the things I've been able to do to kind of share knowledge and give people a way to kind of think about their next steps in their lives, whether it's a career or whether it's in business or whether it's just upskilling yourself. Um, so a bit of background about myself, actually, to start off with. I've been in data for the past 7, 8 years now, and I've worked from the travel industry to big tech companies. I've seen it all. I've been involved in so many political disputes or the politics in the workplace. I've been promoted. I've gained higher salary raises. I've been able to, had the opportunity to do a load of projects. I'm happy to do so. But yeah, I just generally just wanted to talk to you quite briefly about, careers. And this segment or this part of my ongoing journey, I'm going to call this Career Fun Fridays. And I'm going to share with you some techniques, some tricks when it comes to go for interviews, whether or not it's prepping for an interview, how to research a company. Most companies, especially in my field, depending on the role you're going for, they tend to give you a task to do before your final interview stage. So how to prepare for that, how to accommodate put yourself in their thoughts and their process when they're starting to deliberate between which candidate should we go for. Various companies that I've worked for in terms of what's the step-by-step process, what's the conversations like, and these are the kind of things I want to share with you so then you feel more confident and you feel more empowered within yourself to say, listen, I can actually get this job. So stay tuned for Career Fun Fridays. Right, so the first thing, and probably the most important thing, is just understanding yourself. It took me a while to understand what I wanted to do, especially after university. I think that was the most daunting time of my life. I was still doing part-time work at Carphone Warehouse. I was kind of like a sales consultant was the job role there. So I was the person on the shop floor who will try, give you information about a phone to try and make you purchase a phone and do add-ons such as insurance or cases or screen protectors. I love that. I actually really, really loved that part of my life because it helped me to become more of a person who can speak confidently. I'm not comparing that specific sales org or sales structure to like a big tech company, but in this particular sales role, I was able to speak with various people from various backgrounds. I was able to build a rapport, which I value very, very much, and listen to the pain points. And that's really key. I was able to ask relevant questions to understand what the pain points were, to kind of deliberate, okay, which phone best suits their needs. So that was an earlier part of my life, which I said was daunting, but it was daunting because of the high pressure. And there was so much things that I could learn that I've applied up until today in my career. Again, one of the things is building rapport, how to speak confidently, how to not be afraid to ask questions. Even the little things are really, really important. And I say this to say, back to the first topic, is understanding what you want your journey to be like. Now, I was in Carphone Warehouse sales during my time at university and shortly after my university stint when I was looking for a full-time job, 9 to 5. I was able to get my 9 to 5 shortly, I think 6 months after I graduated. I worked for a company called Travelopia. I was a customer insights analyst and I was working with tools such as Tableau, Salesforce. They also had HubSpot as well for a CRM tool. And then I really harnessed my Excel skills there as well. And it was a really, really good, intriguing role. I learned a lot in terms of how to deliver on projects, how to execute projects as well, and finding the right team to kind of help you deliver on this project, which is also important. I call them cooks in the kitchen, but that helped me to then to my more progressive career start, which is I then move over to the tech industry, to the extent where I was actually working as an Android developer for the TAE company, which is called the App Experts. Um, didn't really enjoy it. To be fair, I was kind of brought in as like a consultant, and there's like a training model they give to you where you're basically trained for 12 weeks. They train you how to code in Java, as well as Kotlin as well, actually. And that's when I first fell in love with like actual coding and solving problems. And those who actually know how to code, or those who are actually getting involved in coding, or even those who are masters of coding, the one thing that even to this day gets to me is when your line of code doesn't execute when you run it. And this could be the smallest thing. It could be like a semicolon. It could be a misrepresentation of the coding word, or you could have spelled it wrong, etc. Or just the format could be indifferent. So it taught me a lot to kind of gain patience and be able to always master a certain skill. And then from there, I was then moving over to, well, luckily enough, I had the opportunity to work as an analyst for Meta. And till this day, I always say, Meta was and still is the forefront of where I am today. Amazing company. The org that I was in specifically, I'll talk to you a bit more about it, but I just want to give the flowers to those who kind of shaped me who I am today, to not only understand me as a person, but helped me in my trajectory to where I am today. And I say that to say this, is I was a sales ops analyst, so still had the analyst part at the end. But I never went to uni thinking I want to become a sales ops analyst. I didn't know what it was. I didn't even knew how to begin as a sales ops analyst. And it dawned on me where I start to get more familiarized with the role, what the job spec was. And again, if you looked at my CV, I didn't think I was qualified. I went through 2 interview stages and I was lucky enough to get the role. Didn't anticipate that at all, but I relished the opportunity. Being very young, in a big company, loads and loads of people from diverse backgrounds, I said, I'm going to take this opportunity. I'm going to run with it. I'm going to learn as much as I could learn. And then this is where I am up until today. So I've predominantly been like a sales analyst for various companies in tech. So starting from Meta to Cisco to Adobe, to Intuit to now Klaviyo. And I love every single minute of it because you get to wear different hats. And I'm saying this to understand, or for you to understand actually, is the first point, which is understanding your career journey. And sometimes you'll be placed in a role where you had no vision of being in that role. You never heard of the role. But you're in that role because it has some aspects of what you've learned or some aspects that intrigued you. So what intrigued me in sales ops was the technical side of things. I love coding. I love, solving problems. I love leveraging Excel at the time, now G Sheets, to build formulas and try to build it as dynamically as possible. Or alternatively, build reports in Salesforce or build reports in HubSpot. Or do dashboard reporting in Tableau. So those are the things that I really enjoy the most. So those are the things I really look for when I'm applying for a role. And it just miraculously, sales ops, thought of that. But then there's the other side of sales ops, which is not only technical, but also the more front-facing, being able to handle projects, being able to leverage and speak to key stakeholders, from directors of sales to VPs of sales to managers of sales to support in CRM, etc. So what I mean to say about this is when I talk about understanding your career journey, sometimes it's not as straightforward because I didn't go to university and study sales ops analyst. I went to university and studied business information technology at Kingston University. And I didn't envision myself becoming a sales ops analyst. It's only until I've started to fall in love with coding, solving problems, SQL, Python, etc., I start to figure out roles that help me towards that. And now I'm in a career that I really enjoy. And I say this to pretty much just allude to the fact that it's really important that you understand the career journey you want to go into. And sometimes the job role you may be applying for may not sound to the kind of role you would have envisioned, but there is some aspects to the role that kind of tickles your fancy that you may like or you may enjoy. So it could be anything. So I would always encourage students or people who finish university to don't just go for the roles that are like really, really like just bait and just be like, yeah, you know, I studied marketing, so let me find a marketing role. You know, you can find a role that has elements of marketing in it, and that can empower you and obviously uplift you to not only move within a company, but to help you harness some new skills that you probably didn't think, oh, I really enjoy that. I actually enjoy that. Let me actually delve a bit more into it. So, yeah. First point is understanding your career journey. Quick one. Second one would be, so the first one is about understanding your career journey. Second one, I would always, and I say this is, don't be afraid to have interviews. I've spoken to a few students who don't want to apply for a job because they feel like, oh, I'm just not interview ready, or I don't feel like I can go through the interview stages, etc. And I understand it, especially when you finish uni, and universities don't really teach you how to conduct yourself in an interview. I think there's so many flaws in universities, but I will highlight that in the later videos. But yeah, it's what can I say? It's more so of the more interviews you have, the more you learn. The more rejections you get, the more you learn. And always take notes of your rejections. Understand why. Don't be afraid to go back to HR or the talent acquisition team or the person who's actually leading the job. Leading the job post. Don't be afraid to ask them questions. You know, they're there for a reason. I think it works both ways. I've always been taught from one of my mentors when I started in my career is an interview is always a two-way street. You have to make sure that's the right fit for you, and they have to make sure it's the right fit for them. And there's a reason why they've screened you as a potential candidate. So that's succession number one. Now, once you've been screened, it's all about going through the interview stages. Now, some companies have a daunting interview stages. I've been through them, where there's like 5-6 stages. There's some companies that take it a really, really calm approach, which is like 2 interview stages. You may be lucky and just be like 1 interview stage. But needless to say, I always say, always don't be afraid to do interviews. Even if you're feeling nervous or scared, it's okay. Because eventually, you'll come out of that. And the more you do, the more you learn. The more you start to understand, okay, these are the kind of questions I'm being asked for this specific job role. How can I better equip myself so I sound confident, or I know what I'm saying, or what's a strategy in play for myself? Speak to those who are currently in the workforce. My 2 earlier points were those who are looking, and again, I will elaborate a lot more in later videos in terms of like step-by-step process, what to do, how to think, etc. Think of this like an intro video. But the third one is, and I learned this while I met her actually, was play the game. Play the game. And these are for those who are currently in the workplace. Play the game. Understand the politics. Understand the politics. Because every company has politics. And I'm not going to deny it. I'm not going to lie about it. I know companies tend to frame away from it and say, no, we don't have any politics like that. Everything's all good and rosy. I'll call cap on that. Extreme cap on that. There's always politics or some level of politics in a business, and that's okay. It depends on the politics that's being dealt with. So there's bad politics and there's good politics, but majority of the time, just based off my experience, there's been kind of an even blend. Some of them are really bad, some of them are quite good. But what I mean by politics is understand who are the leverages in your career. So imagine now you're in a workforce or you're currently working, you've been in this job for, doesn't matter how many months or years you've been there, but you always have the strive and the energy to like, oh, I want more out of this, I want to grow, I want to, do something different within the company, I want to explore different avenues within the company, or I just want to have a better pay rise, I want to test myself, I want to be involved in, the larger projects, for example. And I would say understanding the politics is integral for you to get there, because you need to understand who does what and who's going to be your leverage to get there. I'll be completely honest. The first 3 months, I'm a big sponge, like a very very big sponge. And what I mean by sponge is I am trying to learn everything about the company that I work for as possible. I want to know who's who. I want to know who runs what. I want to know who talks to who. I want to know whose ear has the highest person's ear. I want to understand, how does that person get to that? How did he done this? How many years did it take for him to reach that level? I'm always asking those questions. I'm always intrigued, because for me, it's really, really important to understand the politics of where you work. Sometimes in the meeting rooms, just take a step back and understand, okay, what kind of conversations are they having? Who's leading the conversations? Who's making the final decisions? And then even in your team, just be like, okay, in my team, all right, who's doing this very well, or who's doing this very bad? Like, who has the manager's ear? Like, understand those things are really, really important, and it does get you a long way. I'm saying this based off, again, my experience. Where I've had to play the game, I've had to be very political, to, either extend a contract that I was in if I was contracting at the time at Meta, or if it's just to get a promotion at work. So it's really, really important to understand who your leverages are. And yeah, just doesn't matter the size of the company, just make sure they see you. Just make sure they see you. And don't be afraid to voice. I think one thing I've learned as well at Meta, again, I'm always going to allude to Meta because Meta is what made me who I am today, to be honest, is don't be the silent person in the room. And no question is a stupid question. If you don't understand something, hand up, what does this mean? If there's a meeting going on, even if it's like one word, try voice it. I mean, there's meetings that I'm in so many, and there's like so many Zoom meetings that you probably in yourself, and you're just like, don't know if it's the right time to say this. Just voice it out, Okay, so those were the 3 things I just want to share with you quickly. And these kind of career fun Fridays are structured in a way where it's just me, camera, I'm just having a conversation with you. And I want it to be very interactive. I want it to be, you talk to me about your problems or issues you're having in your current career, or you're trying to aspire to get into a career, or you're just struggling to, even just develop a skill or anything like that. These are the kind of things I want to do to help and support people. You may call it giving you game, you may call it, giving you loopholes and stuff like that. I just see it as giving you an extra foot in the ladder in the door that you want to go through. So yeah, the 3 things, again, I would always reiterate is your career journey. Just understand and know what career journey you want to have. Life is too short, and it's always imperative to actually understand what career journey do I want to go into, and how am I going to get there. Have a mind map, have a roadmap, have a plan of execution, how you're going to get there. Number 2 is interviews. Do as many as you can. Obviously within the role that you want to apply for, by the way. If you want to, do anything in data, trying to apply a role in HR, it's not going to make sense. But yeah, you get what I mean. Apply for as many roles, and as well as do as many interviews as you can. I think that's the best way you're going to learn. There's no rule books. There's no rules to it. I think you just learn as you go. And that's what I've just been able to do. I didn't look at no rule book or anything like that. I've just done so many interviews. I learned, how they talk, what questions are going to come up, and that helped me to kind of mind map myself and restructure my brain in terms of how I answer a question, how do I conduct myself in interviews, which has helped me to land, big tech roles throughout my career so far. So yeah, definitely do as much interviews as you can. And lastly, definitely just understand that, take a step back, think to yourself, okay, where am I currently in my company? Where do I want to go? Where do I want to strive to? And it may not be you striving to a role in your company. You may be thinking, all right, I need to pivot to another company and try to do this. And that's absolutely fine. But play the game. Once you play the game, your eyes become open. You start to realize, okay, I know the steps and the maneuvers I need to do to excel in my role. And don't sleep on the power of networking. And for my bonus tip, and this was on the second point, when I spoke about basically just interviews, is when you're doing research on a company, don't leave it there. What I found that really helps a lot is if you have an interview with a manager or anybody who's on the interview panel, the golden tip I'll give to you is research their LinkedIn profile. And I mean research it distinctively. Understand, where did they go to school? What did they study? How many jobs did they have? What did they do in those jobs? Research that and bring that up on the interview. Because like I said, it's not only an interview for you, but it's also an interview for them. But on your side, you can control that and you can say, hey, I saw this in your LinkedIn. Talk to me more about this. Like, how did you get to where you are based off the learnings of what you was doing in this job in this particular year? Or you may find something really intriguing and say, hey, I really love the fact that you worked with building machine models for XYZ company in 2021. Can you talk to me a bit more in terms of the model that you built? Is it currently used today? I'm trying to, invest my learning in machine learning. Things like that goes a long way. It shows that not only do you, care, but it shows that you're interested and people like that people are interested about them. So yeah. One golden tip there. Use it if you will. If you choose not to, it's not the end of the world. It's fine. But it works for me. So hopefully it works for you. But anyway, this is AI with Fizzy. This is Career Fun Fridays. And peace. Have a lovely day.